Hello, and welcome to Germantown Municipal Television's special coverage of Election 2018. My name is Madeeha Aziz, a student at Houston High, and I'm excited to bring you interviews with Germantown mayoral candidates. Joining me now is a candidate for mayor, incumbent Mike Palazzolo. Mr. Palazzolo has lived and worked in the city of Germantown since 1977. He was elected as alderman in 2004, 2008, and 2012, and was elected as mayor in 2014 and is currently serving his first term. He is here to give us some insight into his future plans as mayor for the city of Germantown. First, I'd just like to say thank you for being with us today.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
And to start off, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what qualifies you for office?
Sure. Well, I started off as a school teacher. I taught for 3 years in the Memphis City Schools, government and econ, and then I became a banker and worked for about 23 or 4 years in banking. Got a lot of experience in finance, budgeting, accounting, and that type of work, and now I'm in higher education, and that's what I've done as a career professional. Of course, I've been in office now for 14 years in total, and I've got some unique experiences being in office. I have been a leader during our most robust times in Germantown. I've also been a leader during the greatest recession that anyone alive has ever been through in this world. And so, I've led in both circumstances, and I think that gives me an interesting perspective. I've been able to lead when times are very austere, and I've been able to lead when we've had the ability to grow as a community and start a new school district.
Right. And so what do you want and expect to achieve in your 4 years as mayor?
Well, in my next 4 years, I'd like to continue on the path of progress that we're currently on. We've always had very much an emphasis and a priority on public safety. Public safety has always been number one in this community, and followed by, in the last 5 years, number 1A would be public education. And so in public safety, I'd like to add an 8th police district. I added a 7th in my first term as mayor. And so in that time frame, we've added 10 brand new additional policemen. We've also added 6 additional firefighters, and that's very important to me in our community. I'd also like to add a new fire station. I'd like to continue the work that we've done with the school district, and hopefully in the next 5 years we will have completed all of the deferred maintenance that we inherited from Shelby County Schools. The high school we're in today is now right at 30 years old. We're constantly having to replace things, and so we'd like to condense that, get it done in 5 years, and then hopefully one day we were talking about forming a health sciences academy here at Houston High School. Perhaps we can dream and have big vision and maybe develop a science wing here at this school. And so, those are the type of things I'd like to get accomplished over the next 4 years.
Okay, and what is your stance on the direction of growth in the city?
Well, growth, we always have to be very cautious. It's not necessarily the issue of the day in the city. It's always an issue. Germantown is landlocked. We're fully annexed. That means we have no more land. And every parcel of land that we currently have, we have to be very judicious and very careful how we plan for it. I was very proud last fall to create the apartment moratorium. My office was being overwhelmed with developers coming to our city and community wanting to put multifamily. Multifamily is not bad per se, but an overabundance of one particular stock of housing is. Our city is mainly residential, and with those limited parcels left, we need to very much be aware of what each and every one can produce for our community, how we can pay for that with services, and how it can bring us revenue as well, all at the same time giving our residents the ability to what we call age in place. You grow up here, you may go off to college, you may move back, you may have children, then grandchildren, but we'd like for the community to stay here their entire life.
Okay, and so adding on to that, do you think there's a balance between residential and new business in Germantown?
Sure. Well, actually, we're in imbalance right now because we're about 90% residential. The remaining property is about 10% commercial. And so part of what our plans have been as a community, not since I've been mayor, but really since the turn of this century, was how to reintroduce the residential component into our commercial areas. So you'll see that currently going on in our city. If you're familiar with the Germantown Performing Arts Center, across the street, there's a village being created, and it's called Thornwood. It has a town clock, a little public square, and it has lodging and retail, and it has restaurants, it has very, very high-end apartments, and it also has residential as well. And so that village concept has been introduced to our commercial area. The commercial area has not been introduced to the residential area. And so the balance is, how do we get a sense of vibrancy and a sense of life in our commercial areas. And so I think we're kind of a little bit out of balance right now. We'll always be predominantly a residential community with single-family homes. No one will ever take that away. Our neighborhoods are very quiet, they're very serene, they're very peaceful. You know, and that's one of the things that our city stands for, our residents do, and our city mothers and fathers do as well.
What will government spending look like under your administration?
Well, we would like to make sure that we produce great quality for our citizens. You know, I have never, ever in my 14 years in office had someone tell me that they weren't getting value for their tax dollars. The first time someone tells me, Mike, I'm not getting value for what I spend on local governing, is when I realize we'll have a problem. Our people want premium public service, okay? They want premium public safety. They want all of those things, premium public education. There's a cost to that, and I think our community is willing to pay for that. This year I lowered taxes, and I was able to stretch our 5-year budget plan to a 6-year, build a new elementary school in southeast Germantown, you know, provide those 10 additional officers, those 6 new firefighters as well, also plan for a new fire station, plan for an addition at Houston Middle High School, all with the same tax base and even actually lowering it. That's pretty uncommon. In Collierville, they just raised taxes 23 cents. We lowered taxes 2 cents.
Expanding on that a little bit, what exactly is your stance on taxes in the city?
Well, you know, we always need to make sure we diversify our tax base. And so over the last 15 or so years, more explicitly the last 6 or so years, we have really put an emphasis on quality growth in our commercial district. For years, people kept asking for more shopping choices, more dining choices. We've brought great restaurants to this town. We've brought Trader Joe's. I've worked on that for 4 hard years with 2 different developers. We finally opened just a couple weeks ago, and we had 4,000 visitors the first day. So in 2012, we developed an economic development strategic plan, and it called for creating more sense of vibrancy and place in our commercial districts. So over that time frame, we produced about $5.5 million in sales tax revenue. This last year, we produced $10.5 million, which was a record for us. First time we went over $10 million in our community. What does that mean for the residents of Germantown? Well, it means that we have less reliance on residential and commercial property taxes, and so there's less pressure there. And visitors pay a lot of sales tax, not only our residents. So those are my thoughts on taxes.
Okay, and what are some issues you've been hearing from citizens, and what is your stance on those issues?
Sure, I've gone door to door since February. I've literally knocked on thousands of doors. I've got a worn out pair of tennis shoes, trust me, and I've done this in all 6 of my previous campaigns. And so the 3 big things I hear are cell coverage, growth in our community, and also growth of our schools. And those things are very important. Cell coverage is important because it's about public safety. A lot of families don't have landlines anymore, and if you want to call 911 on your cell phone and you have no coverage, then that's life and death decision right there. So we're working we created higher towers in our city. We used to have a 100-foot limitation. Now we've gone to 140 feet. Under my administration, we've also embraced more of the cellular carriers, and we've told them they can put spots in our town. Growth, we've kind of answered that a moment ago. We put in place an apartment moratorium to figure out how we are going to grow, manage thoughtfully and wisely over the next generation. And school growth is kind of interesting. You know, a lot of people think we have problems. Well, we've had some crowding issues, but we've come up with solutions. The superintendent and the school board have both kind of readjusted the transfer policies. We're building a new elementary. We have in the budget a middle school wing at Houston. And we have the ability, once all those things are complete, we'll actually have room in our schools for additional students. So that's no longer an issue. The problem has been solved, so to speak.
Okay, and lastly, how involved will you be with the Germantown Municipal School Board of Education?
Well, I will tell you this. I'm the only member of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen currently, and if reelected, I'll be the only member of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen with a past teaching certificate. I've spent time in the classroom before. I'm a member of the Germantown Education Foundation's board. I helped start that organization in 2006. My parents are educators. My brother's an educator. The college level, I work in higher education. With all that said, I have a lot of experience, but with also all that said, I'm very respectful that GMSD has a school board that's duly elected, and they need to set their policy, they need to set their guidelines and set their direction. The city's the funding body and needs to be a great partner, but we shouldn't interfere with school business, just as the school district should not interfere with city business. Now, we want to have great partnerships. As I mentioned earlier, I formed a CEO roundtable. Through that, about half those members are in healthcare. We've talked creatively about creating a health sciences academy to join the other 3 academies here at Houston High. And so with those partnerships, that's how I can help. But I'm going to stay out of school business, so to speak.
Okay, well, that's all the time we have for this interview. Thank you again for being with us.
Glad to be here.
That's all the time we have for this interview. I'd like to thank my guest, Mike Palazzolo, who's running for Germantown Mayor. If you'd like to watch more of our election coverage, please follow us on Facebook and YouTube at Germantown Municipal Television. We hope you will join us on Election Day for our live exit polling numbers for the Germantown Mayor, Alderman, and Board of Education campaigns. You can watch us on Comcast Channel 17, AT&T UVerse Channel 99, and on our YouTube page. Thanks for watching.